You are listening to Meet the Thriller Author. I am your host, Alan Peterson, and each episode of this podcast will introduce you to a new author in the thriller, mystery, and suspense genres. As a reader, I've been a fan of those type of books for a very long time, and that is why I write in that genre now, and so I'm excited to introduce you to new authors. Discovering new books and authors is such a fun thing to do, and that's what I hope to do with these interviews. So stay tuned for the next episode of Meet the Thriller Author. Hi everybody, this is Alan Peterson with Meet the Thriller Author, and for this podcast I have Carolyn Arnold, who is an international best-selling and award-winning author. She's a member of the Crime Writers of Canada and Sisters in Crime, and she has 4 ongoing series, Detective Madison Knight, the Brandon Fisher FBI series, McKinley Mysteries, and the Matthew Connor Adventures. And Carolyn's very genre diverse, writing everything from cozy to hard-boiled mysteries, thrillers, and action adventures. And her latest book, In the Line of Duty, which is book number 7 in her Madison Knight series, is just been published. So we're happy to have her here. Carolyn, thank you for being on the podcast.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So could you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, please?
Sure. I have been writing since 2006. At which time I had actually been away from writing for 13 years at that point. I wrote as a teenager. Life just sort of happened to me. I moved across the province, got married, all of that, and I was just reunited with writing, say there 13 years after. So I've been writing since 2006. I published my first book in 2011, and as of now, like with In the Line of Duty, that's my 26th book published in 5 years.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
Pretty proud of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm jealous. How would you describe your books to someone who hasn't read any of your previous novels?
Well, I break it up by series. So I say to everyone that my mysteries, I've got the whole spectrum's covered, because I've got the cozy to the in-between to the darker mystery thriller type. So my McKinley Mysteries is a cozy. So you have, it's like the old television show Heart to Heart. You have a married couple who actually used to be homicide detectives in Albany, New York, who happen to just stumble across murders and investigations even after they retire. And so they're solving those with crazy little hijinks. And then you have the Detective Madison Knight series, which I compare to a blend of Law and Order meets CSI. And then my Brandon Fisher FBI series is a lot like Criminal Minds. So you got from light to dark.
Well, so you really do cover the whole gamut there of mysteries, huh?
Yeah, definitely. Keeps you busy.
Yeah. And I noticed on your trademark on your website, it said police procedurals respected by law enforcement. How did that come about? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, a lot of thought went into that. I went to a webinar in Toronto, Ontario, and a lot of it was on branding. And I was trying to think, okay, so the whole subject matter of branding is what makes you different than other people, say, doing the same thing as you. So what made me stand out from, say, other mystery writers or other thriller writers? And so I was trying to think of that, and I realized that I received a lot of emails from people who either work in law enforcement or who have worked in law enforcement, who praised up my books and told me how they were both entertaining and accurate. So I realized then that, well, I can honestly say that my books are police procedurals respected by law enforcement. So that's how that came to be.
And did you have a background in law enforcement before you started writing about crime thrillers, or what did you do before?
Before, completely unrelated. I actually worked in an office in accounts receivable. But I have such a love and a passion for law enforcement. And obviously a lot of research goes into my books. I have contacts that I can reach out to and ask questions of. Whether it be a retired police officer, whether it be an officer who works in SWAT, people who work in forensics and have that sort of knowledgeable background that can help me to make sure that I get all my facts and procedures correct.
Oh, so that's great. So you have a network in place that you can go and pick their brains when necessary, yeah?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome. And so can you tell us a little bit about your new book? It's just been published, right, In the Line of Duty?
It has. With this book, a police officer is gunned down in the line of duty, hence the title, and it really follows the inside of the police department, how they deal with the loss of a brother on not only a professional level, but on a personal one. The whole goal of this book, not only just to entertain people, is also to show the human side of policing. Often, I find that there's stark differences between how people view law enforcement. Either people are viewing them in a negative light and criticizing them. Others of us lift them way up on pedestals. But I think what's important for us to realize is that at the base of it, they're people too. So people make mistakes, but people in law enforcement, the majority of them, have a love for the communities they work in and a love for people. And this book really shows how they struggle with the loss of a brother. And they're not only dealing with this grief, but they have to sort of compartmentalize that to find justice and find the murderer.
Yeah, it's been a hard time, especially here in the United States for police right now. So it's kind of it's good to read these stories about how hard it is to do that job. I mean, they have to be like psychiatrists and social workers, everything wrapped up into one.
Absolutely. I was just going to say that I benefited from a local Citizens Academy with the police department here, and really got to see like the inside, what it's like to be an officer. Even got to have a ride along with a sergeant, and got to experience, of all things, a death investigation.
Oh, wow.
So just having that firsthand interaction as well taught me so much, and is only going to serve to even strengthen my books.
Mm-hmm. So you were actually at a scene where there was like a body, or?
Yes, I was.
Oh, wow. How was that? How was that to handle that? To actually see a dead body.
It was interesting how the mind reacts to the situation. I'm the type of person that if I see somebody crying and they're upset about something, I can tear up just out of feeling empathy for them. In this case, the one person was talking about having found the person. I don't want to disclose too much information, but having found the person, and I found that I was able to actually just feel for them, but I was detached. So it had to have been adrenaline that kind of kicked in and just made it almost, the best word would be detached. I sort of detached mentally from it, that was a living person. And at the time I was able to go through the person's home with the sergeant and look for any sort of evidence or anything that stuck out to us. And I did all of that just fine, but it was actually later on at night that it started hitting me that, oh my goodness, I was with a dead person all day. And then it was like, I found that I got a little bit emotional, realizing that that was somebody's loved one, right? Mm-hmm. And it just sort of kicked in. And I mean, talk about really building my respect, because I can't imagine, I couldn't have imagined going back the next day for another shift and doing all that over again. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah, that'd be tough to be seeing that day in and day out. All the stuff that they see on a daily basis. That would be rough.
Yeah, I can't imagine it.
And so now, why did you start writing thrillers? Were you a fan and mysteries, and were you a fan of these genres before you started writing them as a reader?
Absolutely. Love reading them. Love watching them on television. I really like something that makes me think and sort of obviously unravel the mystery, right? Figure out who done it. Yeah, so that would be why I was drawn to write in that genre. I actually, when I first started writing as a teenager, was writing romances.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, and actually the first full-length novel I finished was a romantic suspense, so I kind of incorporated that danger with the romantic suspense and realized, hey, this is where I want to be, is the police procedurals.
And the books that you've written now, your 26 books, those cover those 4 genres that you're currently writing now, right? Those 4 series?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And how do those differentiate from one another?
Okay, so with the Brandon Fisher FBI, it is darker. You have actually a rookie FBI agent on a team of profilers with the Behavioral Analysis Unit. Mm-hmm. I thought it would be neat. A lot of times in books, authors go from the standpoint of the veteran officer. So I wanted to try something new with that. So I started off with a brand new FBI agent. So then they're tasked with finding and hunting down serial killers. My Detective Madison Knight series has a strong female lead. She is a veteran. She lives for the job. She breathes the job. She loves it. What's important to her is finding justice for murder victims. With my McKinley Mysteries, it's more lighthearted. You're not going to have any swear words in it or any graphic violence in it. It's more sort of just like hijinks, trying to solve suspicious deaths or what they obviously term as murders or view as murders. And my Matthew Connor Adventure series, there's only one book in it so far, and it's what I describe as an action-adventure series for mystery lovers. So I actually, as I was writing that book, there's also a little police investigation going on kind of in the background of it as well.
And do you find like your readers, do they like read the different series, or do you hear back from your fans about that, or they pretty much stick to one or the other?
I'm very fortunate that they love mostly all of it there.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so they'll usually go like from one to the other. So yeah, like I even have people like on Amazon, I'll see that other like Brandon Fisher readers will read McKinley's and vice versa, which considering they're so stark of an end of the spectrum. So anyway, that's interesting, and I like that, obviously.
Yeah, no kidding. That's good for business.
That's right.
And do you like work on one series at a time, or do you like jump around when you're writing?
I am striving to only focus on like one book at a time. Mm-hmm. I keep looking at my schedule and reworking it so that I can just focus on one at a time, because otherwise I find it too overwhelming. But I will, from the sense, I'll write like a book in one series, then go on to the next series. The next time I go to write a book in that way. Like I'll sort of alternate them. Mm-hmm. But I do my best to avoid working on them together, because it stresses me out a little bit.
Yeah, I can imagine it'd be a little hard to keep everything in the worlds all separated.
That's right. There's so many voices.
yeah, that could be bad for your health.
That's right.
And so, what kind of authors influence your writing?
At the beginning, it was definitely David Baldacci and Sandra Brown. Mm-hmm. So with David Baldacci, he has a way of really filling out characters and getting you attached to them. And so I really loved that part of what Baldacci does in the book, so that character development part. With Sandra Brown, I loved how she goes where you wouldn't almost even dare to go. Like she'll say, when she says things, sometimes you're just almost like gasping in shock, like she just wrote that. So a little bit of that too, because you want to keep your readers engaged and alert and go, hey, that kind of thing. So both of those authors definitely influenced me to start.
And you have so many different series and books going on. Where do you get all your ideas for all these books?
The scary part, my head. Yeah. Like with 11, like sometimes they're from dreams or nightmares that I've had.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, some of them are actually toned down nightmares. So with 11, there's a house outside of the city I live in that I've driven by, and it's sort of like run down, and I don't know, just an author's imagination driving by, and they'd just be like, what if there were underground burial chambers under there? Like no one would ever know. And that's sort of what came to mind to create 11.
Oh wow! And then do you you must have like a notepad or a recorder all the time, so you can take these notes from your head?
It would probably be a lot more quiet up there if I did, but I hold on to a lot of it and just kind of like file it away up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Good thing you have a way of getting it out of your head then by writing, right?
That's for sure. Yeah, I go a little crazy when I've been away from writing for any length of time.
So do you write every day now? Is that
Well, I have sort of a revolving schedule, you could say, that way. I set up what I'm going to release sort of a year in advance, so I know what's coming out and when I want it to come out, and then I sort of work on when I need to have like the first draft written, when it needs to go to the editor for a developmental edit, when it comes back to me, etc., and so on, right? So the copy edits, professional proofreads, all of that with the in-between processes. So depending on my schedule, I'm either editing or I'm writing. And it usually kind of alternates almost like every other month kind of thing.
Do you set a goal for yourself when you're writing, like X amount of words per day, or do you just try not to worry about that?
A blend of both. So I have to, quote unquote, worry about it to the extent that I'm trying to reach deadlines to get a developmental edit to my editor. Mm-hmm. So I break down a goal of, so with a mystery, I aim for 75,000 for the first draft. Mm-hmm. And I break that down as per, ideally, Monday through Friday, how many words do I have to write to have that done in 6 weeks, say. Mm-hmm. And then I break it down, and then I aim for those goals. But, I mean, as you get going in the book, you can't help it because it speeds up, right? Because everything's kind of coming together, and you're writing faster. Then other times, the way that word count can work against you is if you've got a little behind, it can feel overwhelming. So it's almost better just to shuffle that number out of your head and just sink into the book and just have fun with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And do you like plot or an outline, or you pants it? What's your style?
Oh, pantser.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah. If anytime I've ever tried to do any sort of an outline, it's crickets. It's crickets, complete crickets. Yeah, it's just like, my characters are like, you're not going to tell me what to do. I don't. So I'm much better just to like write the first draft, write it as it flows. I write like I watch a movie. Mm-hmm. And then the part for making sure that everything works out perfectly comes after it's gone for the developmental edit, right? Mm-hmm. That's the heavy lifting comes into play with being a pantster, because then you gotta make sure that everything's drawn out that it needs to be, and everything's moving along at a fast pace at the same point, and different things are revealed at the opportune times. And
do you find like any of your personality makes it into your characters?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think any authors can help that. Outside influences.
Yeah, that's been of everyone I've interviewed, almost everyone says yep.
Yeah.
That question. So that's why I'm always curious.
That's right. Yeah, I think it'd be difficult to completely take yourself out of the books, because it's the author who makes the book. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yep. And do you find like like movies and television and pop culture, things like that, do they influence your novels?
Not without verifying any facts. Mm-hmm. If they give me any sort of a spark of an idea or whatever, I verify anything that's on television, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't get me started.
And like Wikipedia for research?
Well, between reaching out to my contacts and then Googling different sites and all that as well. So, yeah. And then I have some reference books too.
So what are some of the challenges that you find when you're writing, when you start the writing process?
I think, well, it's fun. It might sound funny to some people considering I've got all those books out, but I still find it kind of almost daunting and almost scary when you start writing a book. Like, even though I've done it so many times, it's like, oh, do I have what it takes to do this again? And you just have to sort of, you just push through it and you realize, oh, okay, it's all good. It's all there.
Yeah, that is interesting. It doesn't get easier, does it? No matter how many books you have out. Yeah. And so you said you get the feedback from law enforcement. Is that they're like readers who just read your book and happened to be in law enforcement and they reached out to you?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, wow, that's wonderful. Yeah. So that must have been so exciting when you first got one of those.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And then, when I was trying to realize what my brand was, it's like, wait a minute, I've got quite a few of these over the years.
Yeah. And are your books, are they set in Canada or in the States? Well, you said one was Albany, New York, right?
Yep. So my McKinley Mysteries are set out of Albany, New York, but they are like rich beyond belief. So they do a lot of traveling. So you can be wherever with them. With Detective Madison Knight, it's actually in a fictional city called Styles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then with my Brandon Fisher FBI series, it's obviously in the States in real places.
Yeah.
And Matthew Connor, he does live in Toronto.
And did you find when you're making up your own police department and city, that's probably pretty liberating because you're not really held with constraints that much, or
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good. I've always been intimidated doing that. I don't know if my imagination is as good to be able to do that. So it's very impressive that you can create a whole city out of your head.
Thanks.
So can you tell us a little bit about your current current work in progress? What are you working on now?
Oh, my head's sort of still in a knot. I'm actually working on developmental edits. I'm in that heavy lifting stage, and it's for book 7 in the Brandon Fisher FBI series.
Okay.
It's slated to come out, and this one I'm not sure if it's going to be March or April. I haven't 100% decided yet. And so I'm heavy lifting that right now. So I've done a lot of rewrites, and I'm doing another run through, and it'll go for a copy edit here in a week or so.
Okay. And when did you publish In the Line of Duty? It's very recent, right?
Yeah, I just passed this past Thursday. So
wow.
9th, yeah.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I checked out your page on Amazon. It's doing very well. So congrats on that too.
Thank you very much.
So where do you usually write your novels? Do you have a dedicated space in your house or an office? Or?
Yeah, I have an office.
Okay.
So we have a 2-bedroom home, and the second bedroom was claimed for office space.
Mine.
That's right.
And do you use Word, or do you use one of those writing softwares to write your books?
I use Scrivener to do the writing, and then I use Word for editing.
Mm-hmm. And so once you're actually sitting down and writing, what's your writing day like? Do you write all day, or do you set times, or?
I mostly am striving for those word counts. Mm. So assuming I'm on track and everything and I didn't get behind for any reason, I'm aiming for those word counts. So my word count that I aim for a 75,000 word length novel is about 2,500 words a day for a month. Mm-hmm. And I can write that when I'm on a whir in an hour and a half, 2 hours. If I'm on a whir. Mm-hmm. If I just fall in the rabbit hole, right? It just comes right out.
Okay, so that's good. So you're just breaking it down like simple mathematics, right? You got 30 days, 2,500 words, boom.
That's right.
Yeah. And do you still find time to read with that busy schedule?
I love to read. Yeah. I read all the time. So I'm either reading nonfiction in the morning before I start working. Mm-hmm. And I usually read fiction at night in front of the television. Yeah. So I'll be on the couch beside my husband. He'll be watching TV. I'll be kind of watching TV, but reading fiction.
Yeah, I do the same thing too. My wife comes and says, "Are you reading or are you watching TV?" I'm like, both.
Yeah, that's right. I catch what I need to catch on the show.
Yeah, exactly.
And if I don't, you're there for it, right, honey?
Yeah, exactly. And what are some of the books that you're reading now? Do you recommend any to the listeners?
Right now, I'm reading Harlan Coben.
Oh yeah, I love him. He's great.
Yeah, I think it's Fool Me Twice is the name of the book. Mm-hmm. It has the frames on the cover. And for nonfiction, I like reading books that are empowering. Mm-hmm. And I'm going blank right now. So I think the one was Rhonda Byrne's The Power. Mm-hmm. If I've got her name right for that book. It's about the power of love and how it can change the world. And 52 Ways to Yay, which is making a happy, beautiful life and different little steps that you can take to look at life differently to help make you even happier. Oh yeah,
I have to check those out.
Yeah.
Yeah, get a little bit good vibes going.
That's right.
And so, do you interact a lot with your readers? I mean, you said the law enforcement people contact you, so are you active on all the social media and Facebook and Twitter and all that good stuff?
Yep, absolutely. Twitter, Facebook, email them back. It's very important to me to email my readers back. Mm-hmm. I haven't got into doing book club meetings yet, but that's definitely something that I want to initiate moving forward in the future. Mm-hmm. So you can Skype with them.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that'd be fun. That's a good idea. Do you go to any of the conferences at all?
The only one I've ever been to was BoucherCon a few years back.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's definitely another one of my goals is to attend more of those too, for sure. I'd even love to speak on some panels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so you're gonna keep working on these 4 series. You're gonna keep on those. You have anything else that you're thinking you might be working on?
Not right at this point.
Yeah, you got a full plate.
I do have a full plate. In fact, in all honesty, here I'm going to reveal something to you. With the Matthew Connor Adventure series, I'm not sure if I'm going to continue it as a series.
Okay.
This is my first time saying this out in public here.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'm not saying it's off the board altogether. It's just kind of put to the side for right now.
Mm-hmm.
I really absolutely love writing police procedurals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. Oh, cool. This is like a little exclusive for the show. Thank you.
All right. There you go.
All right. So, well, before I let you go, is there anything else you'd like to tell our listeners? And we do have aspiring writers on here, too. So I kind of like to, any words of wisdom for an aspiring writer that might be listening to this show?
I would say to just keep writing. Try not to get discouraged. If you do get discouraged, think back on all the good that you have accomplished already. How many other people do you know that have written a book who have even set out to actually seriously write a book? And if they're already doing that, they're already ahead of the game. And if there's writers out there who have published their books and they still feel frustrated or that maybe those books haven't taken off yet or whatever, to just stay positive, keep working hard at it, view it as a business, not a hobby. It's never a hobby, even if you haven't earned a penny at it. Writing is a business. And if you view it that way and with passion, I really don't see why you can't have all the success in the world.
Well, that is good advice. I really like that, too, of treating it as a business from the get-go. Yeah, very, very great advice. Okay, so I'll have links on the website to your site. It's carolynarnold.net. And people can find out about your books there. And in the line of duty, it's everywhere, right? You're wide. You're not just on Amazon?
That's right. Yep. I'm Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Apple, all of it.
All right, great.
It's a million chapters.
A million chapters, yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it, Caroline. And good luck with your writing. And I'll thank you for being on the show.
Okay. Thank you, Ellen.
All right. Bye now.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Meet the Thriller Author. I'd like to ask you to please rate and review this podcast over on iTunes. It only takes a few seconds, and it really helps me get the word out about the podcast. So I would really appreciate that. And you can visit my website at thrillingreads.com/podcast. If you haven't subscribed yet, you can do so from there. You can do it on iTunes. You can do it with Stitcher. You can do it on Android. The RSS feed is there, so make it very easy for you to subscribe to this podcast. And you can also join my mailing list from the website. And I've actually been getting some pretty cool offers for listeners. So if you want to get a great deal on a thrilling read, you can join the mailing list over at thrillingreads.com/podcast. And you'll get I'll let you know about these great offers that I've been receiving that I can pass on to you. And please visit my website, my author website over at alanpeterson.com. And you can download my best-selling thriller, The Asset, for free from there. Thank you very much, and until next time.